it's a difficult concept because even doctors don't understand this. If you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes mellitus, which mellitus means honey, that's sweet, sugar diabetes, right? Type 2, and the doctor says, okay, so you have type 2 diabetes, so I'm gonna give you insulin. Well, does that make any sense to any of you? If you knew about type 1 diabetes and you don't have any insulin, you go, oh, yeah, I need insulin. I got to get sugar into that cell. It's starving. It's dying. But if you have type 2 diabetes and your cells are just overloaded with sugar and they've blocked the insulin from the inside, so it can't work, why would you give more insulin? Because insulin is just going to push more sugar into the cells, and you have these overloaded cells. They're toxic on sugar, and you're going to try and stuff more sugar into them. So that's why it's important that you understand the difference between these two things. This is really important. And most endocrinologists do not understand that.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fixed Blood Sugar webinar. Exciting news today. You should have all received an email to remind you of the webinar at work today. So we're excited about that.
Woot, woot, woot.
Yeah, right. We have quite a few people hopping on already. So it worked. That's awesome. And guess what? All three of us are here. So you're getting the
bonus.
I don't know. We don't really have a name. The webinar trio. I don't know. We don't have like a name, but we're all here. So it's going to be a good day, guys. We're talking about type 2. If you're new here, welcome. We're so glad that you are here with us. The beauty of using Zoom for this is that you guys can type your questions in the Q&A and we can kind of keep track of them. And so if you have questions that come up about type 2 or kind of relating to your health, feel free to type those there and we will do our best to answer those while we are live. Same for those of you on Facebook. You can type those in the comments, but even better would be if you just registered for this webinar and then you can hop onto Zoom each week. So you can do that at bartonwebinar.com. You'll find lots of information there. Yeah, I think before we get started, let's have Dr. Saunders give us a disclaimer about what we're doing today.
Okay, so every week we give all this information out and we talk about these things, and it's an ongoing discussion, and the information that we give is for general applicability. So you guys ask specific questions. Okay, I have this problem and what do I do about that? And so I'll try to make it generally applicable to a lot of people. That might work for you and it might not. So just so that you know, the information is for general use, and for you specifically, make sure it applies to you first. And sometimes you might need help with that. You might need a professional help to say, do I have this problem, or do some tests or something to see if that is really what you need. Okay, so let's talk about diabetes. I do a lot of reading about diabetes, and I talk to a lot of people, and I have patients come in and say, I want to get off my medications. I have all this. So when we're talking about the basics of diabetes, it's something that I do every day. So someone asked me, one of my patients came in and asked, do you just wing it all the time? I mean, do you have a script, or do you just wing it? And I'm like, well, I just wing it. This is what I do. I know a lot about it. So when people ask questions, then that gives me something to go on of, oh, I can answer that person's questions, and that has general applicability for everybody. So type 2 diabetes. I've had a lot of people ask me questions about what is it that causes this, and how did I get into this problem in the first place? And then we can go on what can I do about it. So the very basics. If you understand type 1 diabetes, and it's really unfortunate that we have the same name, type 1 diabetes is high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes is high blood sugar, right? Are they the same? No, they're completely opposite, because type 1 diabetes, you have high blood sugar because you don't have any insulin. Insulin is required to bring sugar into the cells. And without insulin, you can't get sugar into the cells. So the cells literally starve to death because they don't have any sugar. Whereas in type 2 diabetes, it's exactly the opposite. There is so much sugar in the cells, they're overloaded with sugar, and they shut off the insulin receptor, so insulin can't be used anymore. So one of them has no insulin, one of them has too much insulin. Okay, type 1 has no sugar getting into the cells, and type 2 has too much sugar getting into the cells. You see what I mean? They're opposites. So it's a difficult concept because even doctors don't understand this. If you go to the doctor and you get diagnosed with type 2 diabetes mellitus, which mellitus means honey, that's sweet, sugar diabetes, right? Type 2, and the doctor says, okay, so you have type 2 diabetes, so I'm going to give you insulin. Well, does that make any sense to any of you? If you knew about type 1 diabetes and you don't have any insulin, you go, oh, yeah, I need insulin. I got to get sugar into that cell. It's starving, it's dying. But if you have type 2 diabetes and your cells are just overloaded with sugar and they've blocked the insulin from the inside so it can't work, why would you give more insulin? Because insulin is just going to push more sugar into the cells and you have these overloaded cells. They're toxic on sugar, and you're going to try and stuff more sugar into them. So that's why it's important that you understand the difference between these two things. This is really important. And most endocrinologists do not understand that. This is so basic, but they don't understand that. So you go to an endocrinologist, I have type 2 diabetes and I've been on these drugs and they're just not getting my blood sugars down. Okay, we're going to give you insulin. It's completely the wrong thing to do, because why do they do that? Well, because they have the same name. Diabetes, high blood sugar, high blood sugar. Obviously, it's the same thing, right? So just because it has the same name, don't get confused. If you have type 1, you need insulin. I'm not going to tell you you don't. You need insulin. If you have type 2, you don't need insulin. If you had type 1.5, you might need insulin. What's type 1.5? Well, some people just have low insulin levels and they eat too much, so they have insulin resistance and low insulin levels, and that's type 1.5. So you actually have type 1 and type 2, sort of. So you don't have too much insulin, you actually have low insulin. That's the difference. So yeah, so in some cases with type 1.5, you can do it by just cutting out the sugar. So phase 1 of the diabetes solution kit, a diabetes reversal program. Phase 1 is a very low carbohydrate diet. It's essentially a ketogenic diet, right? If you've ever heard of the keto diet, that's it. So what that does is that you're not eating any sugar. So after a while, your cells use up all their sugar and they go, hey, we need some more sugar here, but you're not eating any. So what happens? They open up the insulin port to let more sugar in. And then you become what? Insulin sensitive. So that's the idea behind that. So type 1.5, you could become more insulin sensitive, and then that little bit of insulin you make can still function enough for most people. But some people, it's more like type 1 and they need to inject insulin. So when you understand that difference, then you'll know what to do when the doctor says, you have type 2 diabetes, and you need insulin. You go, nah, there's got to be a better way. What's a better way? And so you look at a lot of the medications, and a lot of the medications that people are taking are causing more insulin. They're causing the pancreas to make more insulin, so that you can lower the blood sugar. Well, you end up with the same problem. You're actually making the problem worse over the long run. It's not helpful. So the reason we produce this diabetes solution program is to give you a different choice, a different option, the ability to detox, to get all that toxic sugar out of your cells. And that's what phase 1 of the program is. It's essentially just a detox. You are detoxing from all that excess sugar that's been in there. I hope that's clear.
It's very clear. It's good stuff. So this is the Diabetes Solution Kit, the program that Dr. Saunders is talking about. And most of you watching this probably already have a copy of this, either the digital or the printed like this one. And so this is where all of our good information is on what to do, like anywhere from, hey, I just found out I have type 2 and I want to get rid of it, to I've had diabetes for many years and I want to learn how to reverse it using natural methods. That's what we kind of specialize in here. So Dr. Saunders, I met somebody this past weekend, or I had my 28th annual fantasy football draft with a bunch of college buddies of mine. We get together in Minneapolis and meet in a hotel conference room, and we drink root beer together. That's like when we started it, we were like 19 years old, so we couldn't have, so we tap a keg of root beer. It's a fun time. I had like 2 sips of root beer, because root beer is like the highest sugar possible drink you can have. It's like you might as well just inject it straight into your body. But anyways, I sat next to a friend of mine who's newer to the league. He was in before, then he was out, now he's back, and he was having a really bad day. And he told me that he's got type 2 diabetes and he really struggles with it. And I said, well, lucky for you, I know a guy. And so I was able to give him a copy of the Diabetes Solution Kit and a few of our supplements. I gave him Synachroma, healthy gut support, magnesium, and I showed him, the webinar. I think he registered. I don't know if he's on or not yet, but he'll probably get to watch the replay anyways. But it really gave me insights on what it's like to have a bad day, with diabetes, when his blood sugars were just super high, 350. His stomach, he said he hadn't eaten in 2 days because the medications that he was on were just making him and you could just tell he was really not doing well. And so I put something in the chat here. If you're watching this live on Zoom, I would love to hear what does a bad day feel like for you? Because I think that's the part that I connect with the most. When I can see my friend, he was really struggling, and that just made it all the more for me to identify who we're helping here. And Dr. Saunders, you see people in your office and that regularly and can see that. But I think for me, the keyboard warrior, we work on computers and digitally and things like that. I would love if people could share what is a bad day. What did a bad day look for you, back before you got a copy of the Diabetes Solution Kit or before you watched the webinar? And what does a bad day feel like now? So maybe put that in the chat. Dr. Saunders, you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I see a lot of people with bad weeks and bad months and fatigue. It's really, as we delve more carefully into this, that when your cells are blocked from getting sugar in them, guess what else they can't get into them? Amino acids to make proteins and potassium for energy. So your energy is the difference between the inside the cell potassium and the outside the cell potassium, extracellular potassium. So that difference has to be like 140 to 4. And that's a big difference there. And that allows all of your machinery to function well. It's like electricity, really, that difference between the potassium. But insulin is needed to get potassium into the cells too. When you don't have any, then you put sodium in there. Well, the sodium balances it, but it doesn't give you energy. There's no energy in that. So what happens with this having a bad day is you actually literally are running, instead of on 100 volts, you're running on 50 volts. So what happens? You fatigue easily. You don't feel good. Things don't work right. I can't think straight. I'm getting headaches, those kind of things. So there's a reason, and there's a biochemical reason, and it's measurable. We can look at it. I do it all the time. I send people out for tests and find this potential difference is less. And here's something interesting. Guess what else does that? Epstein-Barr virus. So if you've ever had mononucleosis, and most people have had Epstein-Barr virus, if you test the population, like every population in the world has 95% positive for they've had it at some point in their life. So it's like a common cold kind of thing, right? But people that get it in there as they're older, they get a worst case, and it's usually mononucleosis, and wipes them out, puts them in bed for weeks. What is it doing? Well, it poisons the pump that pumps the potassium into the cells to fill them up with potassium, so that there's this voltage difference. And so when you have Epstein-Barr, you get this low voltage, and it's just like your body's running on 50% of the power. And that's what happens with diabetes too. So, there's a reason. It's real.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bet you didn't know that.
Yeah, very interesting. So, Leslie, you want to give a little housekeeping on like what we do, why we're doing this, and all that? Talk about questions.
Yeah. And you can see that Joe was holding up that Diabetes Solution Kit book, and that is kind of the biggest, that's what we're talking about typically every time we're doing these webinars. We're mostly talking about the Diabetes Solution Kit, and that is what really what Dr. Saunders shares with his patients that come into his office. And so we're offering this free webinar. You can purchase that at bartonwebinar.com if you want a copy of that. It's very inexpensive. I think it's under $20 for you to have your own downloadable ebook. And it's filled with really good information. And the reason that we do the webinars is because we really want to hear from you guys. We want to help you guys. We want to create a community where we can come together and tackle this thing, because so many people are, if they don't have type 2, then they have prediabetes, right? And so, and everyone knows somebody who has it if they don't. And we have seen people have such amazing results, many of whom are on the webinar right now. I mean, I can see, I just saw Anku was sending a message, and it's just been really, really great. And so we're thankful for all of you. It was really funny before we started the webinar, Joe had asked Dr. Saunders how he was doing, and he said, I love what I do. Like, he loves this, guys. This is kind of, like, this is his calling. He really cares about people, and he cares about reversing type 2. And so know that you're getting good information. He spends a lot of time researching stuff. And I know that because I send him weird text messages about random things too, and he researches them, and he's just awesome. So we're very thankful for him. We're thankful that Joe was felt led to pursue this, and has just, man, we've really brought this to a lot of people and really changed a lot of lives. So, all right, enough of that. You can go to bartonwebinar.com, where you will find a link to all of our past webinars. So it's a link to our YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to that so you can search, get notified whenever one comes live. And then you will also be able to listen to the questions that people have asked on the webinar, because what we do is we teach for about 30 minutes typically, and then we open it up for questions. So if you're new here, again, post in the Q&A and learn. You're here to learn, and everyone else on the webinar is either learning with you or sharing their stories. And so If you have a story to share, if you have found success with this program, with the Diabetes Solution Kit, I would really love to hear from you. Please email me, Leslie@bartonpublishing.com. I will post that in the chat. We don't want you to go through life being sick, because that's not living. And so our goal is to help you. We're really passionate about it, and so is our team. And our team wants to hear your success story as well, because that's what keeps them motivated. So we have a message here from Velo and Barbie, which I think might be a good place for us to jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, so Barbie and Velo Garcia started our journey back in April of 2022. We both had type 2 for several years. Both of us were heavy too. A bad day varied. We struggled with energy levels being very low, brain fog, not sleeping well, not rested. Now we are completely reversed. Barbie is about between 5 to 8 pounds from where she should be. Velo is about 10 pounds away. Velo has lost over 60 pounds. Woo! Oh my goodness, Velo, I didn't know that. Okay, our blood sugar numbers are now well under control. We feel great. We have gone from phase 1 to 3, then back to phase 1 as we test what works and what doesn't. We can attest that we are living proof that this program works.
Awesome.
Oh, you guys are just awesome. And they're real people. I chatted with them on video, face to face, and I think we have the video posted. So if you want to know if they're real people, I promise they are. I didn't pay them to type this, but they've just been awesome. And one thing that I really love that the Garcias did is when they started the Diabetes Solution Kit, they didn't do it halfway. They did what it said. They didn't allow for distractions, and they focused heavy and made it happen. And so just super proud of them. And yes, this is what he always says. If we can do it, anyone can. So remember that, guys. So awesome. Thank you for sharing that. But like Joe said, this is good. It's good to see what it is like for everyone, on a bad day. We had a message here from, let's see, Greg, who said he has fatigue, or had, let's hope it's had fatigue, no energy, sensitive to cold, and generally weak. My joints ache, brain fog. Those are some more symptoms.
So Dr. Saunders, if you were to talk to my friend Pete, and he's kind of brand new to this, real quick little sidebar, but I had the thought today, Donald Trump released some video and I watched it. I'm not a big political guy, but he talks about the fake news media, and I was just thinking about it. There's kind of a fake healthcare, as well out there, and I think that there's fake things, fake religion, fake healthcare, fake media, fake education, and the common thing about that is they are teaching things that or saying things that sound official, but when you really dig into it, it's like that's really not helpful. And I think that's kind of what sometimes healthcare is like, and it's healthcare, but do they really care about your health? I think that's the difference here, and I got to be careful how I say this, but because you talked about some doctors that don't know the difference between type 1 and type 2, which kind of blows my mind. Like they went to medical school for this, and yet you can explain it so easily, the difference, and how much it actually helps people to know that and to do different things. And so this is true healthcare, is getting to the bottom of why is this happening, what's going on, and knowing real healthcare isn't just giving somebody a drug or a pill or something like that, because we don't have deficiencies in drugs. We don't have, that's not the problem. What is the real problem? That's what Dr. Saunders is talking about. And sometimes it's a vitamin or mineral deficiency. Sometimes your stress levels are too high. Sometimes you're eating the wrong foods that are causing your body to have too much, and you need to detox. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to share that a little bit. But Dr. Saunders, if you're talking to someone that's brand new to this and they're struggling, they're having bad days, they're having the brain fog, they're, reactions to the medications, what's the first thing they should do just to kind of get on the right track?
Okay, so we wrote a whole book about this, about what's the first thing to do. And so when you go through the Diabetes Solution Kit, and that's why it's a kit and not just a book. The kit is what do I do for this and what do I do for that? So there's questionnaires. How do you feel when this happens, and how do you feel, and where does your blood sugar go, and all those questions. You go through those questions and you find out where you fit onto that. And then the first thing you have to do is detox. Dang it, it makes so much sense. If I had an excess amount of mercury in my body and I couldn't think straight, and I was not being able to walk, and my nervous system wasn't working right, I didn't have any energy and brain fog and all that, what would be my first thing to do? Well, gosh, I got to get the mercury out of the body, right? I gotta start chelating that stuff out so that I'm not toxic anymore. And detox is the first thing in diabetes. And the problem, like you're talking about with what doctors do, is they don't do detox. As a rule, in medical school, we are not taught to detox. We are taught to increase toxicity, really, because you're adding on toxic burdens like drugs. Yes, metformin is a toxin. It poisons one of the enzymes that's in the mitochondria that makes sugar into energy. So it forces your body to make fat into energy. Is that a good thing? Well, yeah, using fat's a good thing. And I have recommended metformin to a lot of patients. But I acknowledge that it is a poison. It's a toxin. So when you get a drug, you're adding toxicity to your body. When you get insulin, which is a perfectly normal hormone that everybody makes, or almost everybody makes in their pancreas, right? You're still adding toxicity because that's supposed to force more sugar into your already toxic cells full of sugar. So rule number one, detox. Detox, detox, detox. And that's the whole idea of phase one. Phase one is detox. And that's what Vilo and the Garcias were talking about just a couple of minutes ago. Yeah, they did the program. Why? Because they detoxed right off. And they're talking about, yeah, we lost all this weight. What is that? Well, that's getting all the excess out of your body, all the junk that's been hanging around.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I was just thinking about detox. Like, it's probably pretty healthy to detox from like the news and social media and all sorts of things. Like, we just get too much of everything in our life. And so, like, step back, fasting, like, just stop eating, stop consuming, like, just go sit in a tree house or something for a week. I don't know, but like, detox is so good. And it just shows like I just am amazed at our human bodies, like the ability to do nothing, like stop consuming, and your body like is like repairs itself, which is amazing. So and you can detox on a like long-term basis, or you can do it on a daily basis. We've talked about the 6-10 reset, which is, I think, is like the icing on the cake. Really helps people. If you stop eating by 6 o'clock, go to bed by 10 o'clock on an empty stomach, and then your body is in a state of anabolic repair. Like, it's in this cycle of repairing itself and fixing all the damage that's been done to it over the past day or week or month or whatever. So you got a smile on your face.
Well, I'm just thinking, good for you, Joe. You got all the terminology, that you're in anabolic metabolism. Yeah, that's really good. That's true.
Yeah. Well, I've been doing this for quite a while now with you. I think this episode might be our 3rd year anniversary officially. Pretty sure. 52 times 3 is 156. I think that's episode today, like 156, right? Or was it last week? Is it today's? Leslie's on mute.
I'm looking right now.
It's either the 3rd year anniversary.
156.
Okay, this is it. So happy 3rd year anniversary, guys.
Hey.
And I think all of them are available for free on YouTube right now. And so just like that's 156 hours of free information that you're not going to get from, I don't know, anywhere else really. And so, yeah, we do charge $20 for this, the digital version of this, another 20 if you want it mailed to you. We've got other products, but like, we love to help people. And I started this webinar, Dr. Saunders and I did 3 years ago because we wanted to help people more. And I wanted to help people more because Dr. Saunders, he sees people in his office and he's helping people all the time. But like, I wanted to connect with people. Like,
well, I wanted to help more people.
Yeah.
You wanted to help people more. I wanted to help more people.
Yeah. And we're doing both. Yeah.
And I figured, you know what? I can save them a whole lot of money. Look, let's just, instead of repeating myself every day, 10 times a day, just put it in a book and like millions of people can buy it. And then right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Well, thanks for the anniversary wishes, everybody. We hope to keep doing this for a long time. So thanks for joining us. We wouldn't be able to do this without your participation. So let's get to the Q&A section here. If you've got questions, Dr. Saunders usually has great answers. He's been stumped once or twice, but it doesn't happen very often. So go ahead and put it in the Q&A section in Zoom and we'll get rolling.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get to as many of these as possible here, but from Don, he says 1 or 2 meetings ago, I think you mentioned that metformin causes neuropathy. Was that something we mentioned?
I don't think so. It's metformin can affect the mitochondria, which can affect the nerves, but it's not one of the side effects of metformin, but it can happen. Yes, it can make it worse.
Okay. Richard says 5 weeks ago, my doctor said my A1C was 6.5. I began phase 1 and now my A1C is 5.9.
Wow, good work.
Yes. If I stay on phase 1, will my A1C go below 5.9?
Oh, yes, you want it to go down to like 5.0, 5.2, 5.4, somewhere in there. Yeah, absolutely. It'll go down to normal. Normal is below 5.7 technically, but ideally you want it to be in the 5.0 range.
Okay. Let's see. Joby says, what is crystalline fructose? And is fructose bad for you?
Oh, that's really interesting. Yeah, so fructose is a sugar. They used to call it fruit sugar, but it turns out it's like everywhere. So sucrose, or table sugar, that comes from sugar cane or sugar beets, that sucrose is made up of glucose and fructose, and they're bound together. And then what your body does is it has a sucrase enzyme that breaks them apart, so you have glucose and fructose separately. So they're all sweet, but the sweetest of all of them is the fructose. So corn syrup is glucose until they process it and make it into high fructose corn syrup. And then it's really sweet because of the high fructose, because fructose is a lot sweeter than glucose. So you get more bang for your buck, so to speak, you can put smaller amounts in and get the same sweetness out of it. So then you can take that fructose, which is kind of like a syrup. If you've ever seen agave nectar, it's like honey, right? And literally it is, because honey is glucose and fructose, and so is agave nectar. But you can take that and just isolate the fructose and then crystallize it, which is just like your table sugar. Those are crystals of what is it? Glucose? No, fructose. No. Sucrose, right? So crystals of sucrose, that's the table sugar. Crystals of fructose is just crystalline fructose instead of the syrup form. That's the difference. And okay, and then the second part of your question is it good for you? No, it's really bad for diabetes. Here's why. Number one is really super sweet, so it causes you to release insulin. And number two, it's not processed like sugar. It goes through your liver, and it can cause fatty liver when you get too much of it. So again, we're on toxicity of fructose causes fatty liver disease because of the way it's processed into fat in the liver.
All right. Good stuff. I like that visual. I'm excited to rewatch this so I can make sure I'm getting it. That's crazy. Okay. Let's see. Doris. Oh, Sheldon. It's actually Sheldon. Okay. My doctor has asked me to stop taking Novolin N and R and has prescribed glipizide now. What is glipizide and how does it work on sugar control?
Okay, so Novolin is an insulin, and you inject the insulin. The N is the long acting, and the R is the regular. That's the shorter acting one. And so what your doctor did is take you off of insulin injections and give you a pill. And the glipizide, what it does is it tells your pancreas that when you have this much elevation in sugar, instead of putting out this much insulin, put out that much insulin. So it just causes your pancreas to make more insulin than it normally would. So it's still causing the same problem, and that is you have these overstuffed cells with too much sugar in them, and the glipizide is telling your pancreas make more insulin so that you stuff more sugar into those overstuffed cells. So it's still kind of the same problem. I don't use glipizide because really dietary ways. So if you just do the phase 1 of the Diabetes Solution Kit, you're going to detox pretty quickly past any benefit you could get from glipizide.
Okay, good information. Let's see. Eric had said, I'm doing good. I've lost 42 pounds and I'm almost at my no fat index for diabetes. Okay.
Wow.
42 pounds. That's amazing. How are you feeling, Eric? Okay. Let's see. Chris
Good
says,
work.
oh, sorry, what?
That's good work. Yeah,
Yeah.
42 pounds. That's amazing. That's great.
Yes. Chris says, I'm in the process of getting a suitable omega fatty acid supplement as omegas help in mitigating many diabetes related complications. I came across a blended supplement consisting of 03, 06, 09. I'm not familiar with 09. What does it do to body functions? Is it necessary to have all, I'm probably saying this wrong, 3 O's, the different omegas? Many thanks.
Okay, so there's a lot of different kinds of oils. A lot. There's I'm not going to even start naming them all. But these omega 369, that's what Krish is talking about. Omega 3 tends to make more of the types of mediators that suppress inflammation. So omega 3 tends to suppress inflammation. Omega 6 tends to make more inflammation, although that's not all of them do that. And then omega 9 is also necessary for function. So the omega 9 is often left out of that, but it's necessary. We need it for certain enzymes to function, certain mediators to be made. But we don't talk about it because it's not part of that inflammatory process. So, we hear about the omega 3s. Oh, you need more omega 3s. Why? Because they're hard to get. You have to get them in. If you're looking at fresh vegetables that have omega 3s in them, you get so tiny amounts of omega 3 as you're eating these fresh vegetables. Now, cows are eating these fresh vegetables all day long, right? They're eating the grass. And what does the grass have? Well, it has omega 3s. So then the cows get omega 3s until before they're slaughtered, they take them and they feed them corn. They stuff them full of corn. What does corn have? Well, omega 6, which if they're balanced, that's okay. But there tends to be 30 times more omega-6 than omega-3 in the corn. So then the fat of the cows comes out with a lot of omega-6. So then we eat hamburgers and whatever beef, whatever steaks and all that stuff. So we're getting this 30-to-1 ratio essentially, and not getting enough omega-3s. So that's why that push to get omega-3s. You got to have fish oil, eat fish. And then what they don't talk about is you could eat less of the omega-6. So if you eat grass-fed beef, for example, has more omega-3s and less of omega-6, that kind of thing. Now, omega-9, what about that? Well, it's too easy to get omega-9. No one's going to market it. No one's going to tell you, you have to have this because we're selling it. No one's going to sell it because it's abundant in olive oil. So yeah, if you don't have to buy the omega-3, 6, 9. If you're using olive oil, you'll get plenty. And omega-6 is found in vegetable oils, and like practically everything is fried in vegetable oils or contains vegetable oils. Gosh, I went to the store, and this is like one of those health food stores, right? And I looked on salad dressing. So I'm looking for a good salad dressing. What is a healthy salad dressing? So I look on them. First ingredient, canola oil. Next one, canola oil. This really, like, you get a little bit of this super fancy bottle that costs twice as much as the other ones. I look on it, canola oil. It's like, dude, they're all made out of the same oil, and they're all omega-6 oils, which is fine. You need the omega-6 oils, but the problem is we have such an abundance of omega-6 oils. We don't have very easy ways of getting omega-3. So that's why they sell the omega-3s. And so I don't have a problem with that. You know, I think people should balance it however they can. So some people don't eat fish because they don't like fish, or they get mercury from fish and they don't want to get mercury. So what are you going to do? Well, cut out the omega-6s and just eat grass like a cow. Or you can take a supplement. And so I'm fine with a supplement. I often recommend omega-3 supplement. Now you know everything I know about it.
This
and we
is so
still don't know.
I've been listening to you for apparently 156 episodes, and I am learning a lot every single time. So this is so good. I love the visual. What I love about Dr. Saunders is that when he teaches it in this visual way so that it makes sense for me. You know, he doesn't say well, you still do say a lot of big words, but mostly you can make it, you know, easy to understand.
Hey,
so
Joe is even using the big words now.
Oh yeah.
I'm going to make you. Okay, from now on, Joe, you're going to have to be the one to read any comments that come from somebody where they ask a weird question about a weird prescription name, because I just want you to have to pronounce it.
Bring it on. I'm not worried at all. Tell me your medications that you can't pronounce. I will hear what they really mean.
But I also feel like it's pretty bold of me to try to pronounce them in front of all of you guys on the webinar, because it's only a little bit embarrassing when I say I'm wrong. All right, let's see. Oh, we have so many good comments in here today, guys. Let's see. Oh, Robert says, again, great question here. How do we test for type 2? And how do we test for type 1.5?
Oh, excellent question. Good. Yeah. So testing is really simple. There's only 3 things that you need to do. Well, you're going to do the metabolic panel. So the glucose, that comes in the usual metabolic panel. That's the usual test that everybody does. And then hemoglobin A1C, and then insulin. And then I always add a C peptide, because the insulin is at that moment, what is it? Which may be high, really high. But the C peptide gives you kind of more of an average. It's a little longer acting, stays around in the blood. So if your C peptide is high, then you know you're making too much insulin. If your C peptide is low, then you're not making enough insulin. If it's zero, if your insulin level is zero and your C-peptide level is zero, then you have type 1 diabetes. Get it? It's really simple. Just a few tests.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. Anku. Guys, if you haven't heard Anku's story, it is amazing. He is such a cool guy. But you can find those on, actually, if you guys haven't joined Barton webinar, it's a Facebook group. Make sure you do that. It's a private group, so I have to approve you. But we post some of these videos in there that our friends here have done about how they have reversed their type 2 or talked about their journey, etc. And Anku has an amazing story. You'll also find it on our YouTube channel, but I really, really love getting to know him. Okay, so he says, do diabetics have to do away with low carb bread, like the 4 grams of carbs per slice, that type of bread? And how about milk, like evaporated milk? Do we need to get rid of those completely? What about cheese? All the good things he's asking about.
Yeah, good question. Okay. You don't have to get rid of any of those things, actually. And we set up the program so it's very versatile. That like people who eat a lot of breads and cereals can do this program, and people who are on a carnivore diet can do this program and have no carbs at all. There's a way for it to fit in with everybody. So if you look at the free foods, and the free foods, you don't even have to count them. It's things like broccoli and spinach and salad, lettuce salads and cucumbers and peppers. So that list of free foods that's on there, you don't even count those. But if you're going to have bread, just know that you're counting that as that's your, if you have 1 slice, that's 4 out of your 20. Now you only have 16 left to go to eat that day. So that's one way to do it, is just because it makes it so versatile, we could fit anybody's lifestyle by doing it that way. That's why we said that.
Okay. Alan says, can't wait to get off metformin. See the doctor at the end of the month. That's awesome. Keep us posted, Alan. Email me if you can when you find out. Okay. Our friend William Davenport. I just came across an article about a second immune system. I guess it's dormant in most people and needs reawakening. The primary immune system protects us from outside invaders, toxins in the water, air or food, viruses, etc. The second immune system combats internal problems. It uses autophagy to clear out the dead weight in our body, all the dead, dying, and mutating cells to make room for healthy replacement cells. So heart disease, Alzheimer's, cancer, asthma, inflammation, obesity, diabetes, and chronic pain stand no chance against this second immune system. Besides staying healthy, I see this as another way to keep type 2 diabetes from returning ever. Your thoughts on this?
Okay, wow, this is big. We could do a whole webinar on this. This is really good stuff. Yeah. So the immune system, the internal immune system, not like what's being excreted, like he's talking about, and your intestines in your eyeballs and on your skin, all of that primary stuff. The internal stuff, that's what we're talking about with autophagy when somebody's doing fasting, for example, cleaning out, it's detoxing. And yeah, it's really important. So you want to know, how do I do that? Well, fasting is one way. So when you're not eating, when your stomach's empty, you produce a hormone called ghrelin. That's the hunger hormone, growth hormone releasing hormone. That helps you release growth hormone at night, which is why we do the 6-10 reset. Because you have an empty stomach at night, you're making ghrelin, you release your growth hormone, and that initiates, as Joe told us, the anabolic metabolism. And that's where you're rebuilding and repairing everything, and starting autophagy as well. Now, there's a couple of other things that are really important to stimulate that. Exercise is really important for the secondary immune system, for keeping that functional. Another thing is vitamin D, as in dog. If you have enough vitamin D, actually the binding protein for vitamin D is macrophage activating factor. And that's what he was talking about, that those are the macrophages that clean up all the dead cells and all that stuff. This is really, really big, and there's a lot of research being done on it now because of how important it is for preventing cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all the things that he was talking about.
Awesome. Okay, we're running out of time, but there's so many good things that we got to talk about here. So, I scrolled through them all. I got to find this. Okay, here's a good message here from Charles. After 9 days on the program, I finally broke through my insulin resistance and have blood sugars in the low 200s and 100s for the first time ever, or for the first time after over 1.5 years of 350 plus levels.
Wow, good work.
It says I'm starting to get many 70s and lower, and I've had several low blood sugar episodes over the past week. I can start lowering the amount of insulin I take, reduce metformin from 2,000 milligrams per day to 1,000 milligrams per day, or eat more. What would you suggest?
Oh my gosh, there's no question, no question. The less insulin you have, the better off you'll be. No question. That's what all the research shows, everything. Less insulin is better, even if your blood sugars are higher. So if your blood sugars are going up to 200, but your insulin is down, that's better.
Awesome. And good work. Keep it up. Okay, here's a really, really good message from Jerry. Been on the program since April, done very well. Have not had my A1C tested or checked recently. I'm due to get it soon. My average blood sugar is around 118. My issue is, and this sounds crazy, but I'm actually afraid to stop the metformin. It's a head thing, obviously, but I'm afraid my blood sugar will creep up. Is there something that I can expect to see with my numbers without feeling I need these toxic drugs?
Well, when I have people that are worried like that, because you're not unusual, people do that all the time. I often replace it with something. So like Synachroma could replace the metformin. Berberine could replace the metformin. And so if you had something else and you go, oh, this is to keep my blood sugar, this is the chemical I'm using to keep my blood sugar normal because I can't detox all the way yet. If it's something you're working on, pick something else. Or when you stop metformin, it's not like a sudden rise. That metformin only gives you a small percentage, like a 10% difference. It's not really huge. So, if you stop metformin, your blood sugars aren't going to go up to 300 from 118. You might go up to 130 or 150, but it's not going to be significant.
Okay. With that, also Jennifer is saying, when you detox, do you slowly cut down on your medications one at a time, or do you go cold turkey?
It depends on what you're taking. Some of them need to be reduced gradually, and some you can just stop. We talked about glipizide earlier, and that's an easy one because you're on it only during the day essentially because it's gone by the next morning anyway. It's not like you have to have a level. And there are other ones like that too, but some of them you need to wean off. So that's why whoever prescribed the drugs for you, that's where you go and you say, okay, I'm working on this program and my blood sugars are getting too low. I'm really worried they're going to get too low. Which medication can we wean off first, or which one can we stop? And that because there's interactions with them too, so that's important.
Anku is asking, is green tea good for fasting?
You know what? Green tea is good for fasting. I got to tell you, there was a story I told a few weeks ago. about a guy in Scotland in 1968. He weighed 480 pounds, and he wanted to go down to 180 pounds. So he wanted to lose 300 pounds. And he decided he was just going to fast because he tried all the diets and none of them worked. So he did. He stopped eating for a year and 18 days. He didn't eat anything except he had his black tea because he's in Scotland, right? That's what they do. They don't drink coffee. And he never gained the weight back. He kept it off. So yeah, green tea is fine if you're fasting. Just don't put anything in it. You know, you're not gonna put any creamer or sugar or sweetener or anything in it. Just, you know, if it's straight tea, that's okay. Even coffee. I've had people ask me about coffee when you're fasting. Personally, I think it's a good idea when you're fasting to detox from the caffeine too. But I've had people tell me, I've tried that. I was, 2 weeks with headaches. That I'm not doing that again. Fine, drink the coffee. It's okay. It's not gonna hurt your fast.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see. I think I have a question here from Butch. I've cut out all carbs. I'm doing the 610 program. Blood sugars are rapidly dropping, but the last 2 days have been rather diaphoric, something. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Should I be concerned?
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go, Joe. Go, Joe.
Is it in the Q&A?
It's not one of those words. I wonder.
Where are we reading this?
Yeah, Q&A. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Could be diaphoric.
All right. Okay. But the last 2 days have been rather diaphoric. Should I be concerned? Now, he didn't spell a couple other words correctly either, so that it could be
Okay.
It might be it could be diaphoretic, which means you're sweating a lot.
Sweating a lot. Yeah. Blood sugars are rapidly dropping the last 2 days. Your blood sugar going down, you don't want it to go too low because that's where people have, problems with headaches and going into a coma and all that. So you want to keep your blood sugar in a normal range, but what's the normal range? Here, a lot of the problem is if you're used to having a blood sugar of 150 and you drop it to 100, which is perfectly normal, you may feel hypoglycemic. You may be getting diaphoresis, sweating or getting headaches or brain fog, stuff like that. But it's still important to do that. And some people say, well, I can't stand it. I have to, drink some orange juice or something. And it's not wise. So the answer is, if you're keeping your blood sugar, if you're looking at your blood sugar and it's not dropping into the 40s or 30s, then you're okay. If as long as it's like in the low in the 50s, 60s, then that's fine. If you have one of those continuous glucose monitors, those are great because then you can just follow it along where it goes.
Yeah. Okay. This is good information. Again, you guys, thanks for joining us today. Dr. Saunders, go be with your patients. They're so blessed to get you today. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Right. See you next week.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
I think we got to most of the questions here. Just a quick review, guys. The Diabetes Solution Kit is available lots of places, but I'm going to just tell you to go to bartonwebinar.com. That's kind of where you'll find a link to everything that we've talked about today. So the YouTube channel, you'll find a link to that. Go there and subscribe. You'll find our top 10 questions, which is a really good resource. Usually, we have a list of questions that come in pretty much every webinar. And so check those out and link to our supplements, link to the Diabetes Solution Kit, etc. So anything else from you, Bill?
Yeah. Fiber Greens is back in stock. So this is our, so Dr. Saunders has talked about fiber in previous episodes and just how important it is to get a high amount of fiber. And I think it's like 40 to 45 grams a day, which is really hard to get, even if you're eating like kale salads and coleslaw all day long. So one way to get that is to supplement with the fiber. And this also has the superfood greens in it. So we called it super fiber greens, and it's back in stock. This is our newest product, and we ran out of stock like 4 or 5 months ago, and it's been a journey getting it back. But now we've got a lot of it in stock. We're not going to run out anytime soon. And you can use the coupon code webinar25 to save 25% off on that product as well. It is not in the printed catalog. Chris, you had asked about that, but it is on bartonnutrition.com. And yeah, check it out there. If you're craving green apples, that's what it tastes like. It's really good. Kind of like a green apple Jolly Rancher, which is my favorite flavor. So, and watermelon would be next, but we don't have watermelon fiber yet. But yeah, that's back. Yeah, go to bartonnutrition.com. Check out all the other supplements. Almost all of them are formulated by Dr. Saunders. He is not one to push pills. Like we've talked about this in the past, but people have deficiencies in nutrients and vitamins and minerals that we don't get through our foods. And then there's other certain things that just help, like alpha lipoic acid and vitamin B1 helps really well with diabetic neuropathy, nerve pain, numbness, and tingling. So that's in our Nervala product, which is green as well. Looks like that. And if you have restless legs or can't sleep very well at night, I take it before bed and helps me sleep great. Synachroma is our number 1 best-selling blood sugar support product. It's got vitamin D, vitamin K, selenium, vanadium, chromium, and cinnamon bark extract. And that is our top seller. Yeah, you probably have heard about that, but most people that have type 2 diabetes have deficiencies in those minerals, or vitamins. And a lot of other products. We won't get into all of them now, but yeah, thanks for joining us today. Lots of great questions. Leslie, beautiful display behind you. You want to explain the Leslie Drive?
I actually grew up on Leslie Drive. So my parents owned the development, so they named the streets after their children. So this is an old sign. I didn't steal that off of the road. But yeah, that's what that is.
That is great. And your sister and your brother have streets named after them as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Maybe someday I'll get a road named after me. I live on a dead end, so I mean, I don't think that'd be too hard. I'm the only one on the road. You never know. I'll just go switch out the sign. I'll make my own sign.
You should.
Joe Road.
Should.
My wife would probably not appreciate that. Well, anyways, as you can tell, we like to have fun here, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging on. We'll be back here next Wednesday, 1 o'clock Central Time. Looks like Zoom is working now. Come check us out on the Facebook page and the YouTube channel. And we'll see you next time. Thanks, Leslie. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.